Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Voice of Reason with Nathan. As always, we are about knowing the Lord and making Him known. And in today's episode, I wanted to talk about emotional honesty. And being emotionally honest is about being real and identifying what's really going on in your emotional world so that then you can be able to express it, address it, deal with it, and move through that so you actually use your emotions to your advantage and allow it to line you up even more with your values, with your identity in Christ, with your relationships, and really growing in those areas rather than letting your emotions dominate and dictate and manage you. You can manage them. And there's three areas that I want to talk about where it's so important to be emotionally expressive and be able to talk about how you feel. Because a lot of people ask me, is it okay to talk about my feelings? And on one hand, there is a place where it can be beneficial to stifle your emotions, to hold on to how you feel, right? You don't want to be talking to everyone and everything about what you feel. And a lot of the time, our feelings will come and go. And it's important to hold on to those and just kind of ride the wave at those moments. But in other areas, it is important to talk about how you feel, and it can be a rewarding and enriching experience when you do so. And I want to give you three areas where you can talk about your emotions and how to do that. The first yes is inspection, the second yes is connection, and the third yes is salvation. And I just want to break this down for you guys. So the first yes, inspection, it's about talking about those emotions where you found there's a pattern, where you found there's a cycle that's happening. So say with a cycle of anxiety or with depression, and you're feeling like anxious a lot of the time in those situations, in that environment, with those people, whatever might be going on there, even internally in yourself, it just might be an anxious state. It is important to talk about that for inspection purposes. So what are the thoughts that are driving those emotions? What are the beliefs that are underlying that? You know, the way that you feel is affected by your thought process, and your thoughts are really largely stemming from your belief system about yourself, about others, and the world around you. And if you can break that down, so the emotion, say, is anger, what's going on under that? It might be insecurity, it might be fear, it might be hurt, it might be all sorts of feelings underneath that. And then what are the thoughts attached to those emotions there? What's the event that started that or triggered it? Or what are the behaviors attached to that? And then underneath that, what is the belief that you have about yourself in that situation? Or your belief about those people around you, or the person that's involved in that, and the world at large. If you can identify that for the inspection purpose, man, like you can get control over that emotion. You can get control over that circumstance in yourself and be able to address and deal with it. What I find is problematic is when people mask their emotions, and there's a place for medication, there's a place to, utilize distraction, there's a place for that, absolutely. But there is also a need to be able to address what's been going on. There is an absolute need to hit that head on when you're ready with the right tools and the support in place, and overcome it so you don't be a victim to your emotions, and rather you can manage and dominate your emotions and use them to your advantage. Number two, the second yes is connection, right? So this one's all about relationship. And it is essential to be able to be emotionally honest in your relationships. And what you'll find is that, especially early on in a relationship, say it's with a girlfriend or someone that you're wanting to impress, there's this kind of superficiality in the relationship where it's all just, happy and it's all great and lovely and everything. And as the relationship grows and deepens, there's a greater level of emotional honesty where you start sharing the things that are troubling, where you start sharing the things that bother you. You start revealing things that are more personal and vulnerable, and you become more open. And it takes you to a deeper level of emotional honesty that you cannot get there unless you open up about what's really going on. Now, I don't mean just, talk about every feeling you have necessarily, but you, again, with those patterns, with those issues that are coming up where you do feel, anxious, or you do feel hurt, and especially in a relational context, it's important to talk about what they might be. I deal with a lot of couples that come to me for help, and a lot of the issues they have are because they haven't been emotionally honest. They've been hiding behind some masks and facades, and kind of putting off those hard conversations where it's not going to be easy to talk about how you feel hurt, or how something's happened and the way that's affected you, or them being able to listen to your partner as well, and hear their side of the story. So it's important for them to be able to share as well. So it's not all just one-sided, and the motivation for you to do this is to be able to connect with your partner, to be able to really grow in your relationship. And if that's the case, then man, it'll take you to the next level. So you share your feelings, they share theirs, and both of you can work out what are the thoughts, beliefs, behaviors that are causing this situation to happen, and be able to grow from it. And also, not just from not a negative, but you know what I mean, like that kind of a emotional experience, but also from a positive experience, like sharing good emotions, sharing joy, praising your partner, praising the good moments, lifting those up, praying together, emotionally connecting with each other in prayer, in worship, emotionally connecting with your children. There's all that. There's so much more around this issue about emotional honesty in your connections. And then the third yes is salvation, and this one is so important, man. Like, this one's all about your identity. So coming back to your identity in Christ, coming back to what's important to you, your values, really your goals and what you're hoping to achieve, and being able to express feelings in this area often is cut down by shame. And it's a very powerful emotion that tells you that that something's wrong with you and that you're not worthy. Essentially, that's what shame says. And often it comes from making a mistake or having had something happen to you. And look, man, we all go through things in life, right? We all have experiences. We've all gone through tragedy and suffering. And that's just the fallen world that we live in. And we live with fallen people, as we are also one of those. And it's important to acknowledge that stuff that goes on, that does hurt us, and that we've done as well, that have hurt others. And not to carry that shame around. And the worst thing that shame can have is secrecy. And the more secret, the less we open up about shame, the more power and control it has over our lives. And it takes away from our true identity in Christ, that we are free, that we are saved, that we are forgiven and healed, and we have a new identity in Christ. But if we hold on to that shame, and if we don't talk about that, if we don't share that with people we trust, with people that can help us through that, then we're going to be, in a sense, held captive to that mindset, held captive to that emotion. And so it's important, in that area of salvation, to share the emotional experiences that are going on there, so you can experience the joy of your salvation, and you can walk in that and in that freedom that Christ has paid for us. So those three areas again, and I hope this has really helped you to go for it today. So those three areas: yes to inspection, yes to connection, yes to salvation. And whenever you're encountering that question of, should I talk about how I feel, come back to those three yeses, man. And I believe it's going to help you to have a framework to work with, to be able to know what to do in those situations. Bless you guys. Send me an email if you like, and I'd love to connect with you. Check out my podcast, Facebook, and any other ways that we can connect. Feel free to let me know how you go. All right. Bless you guys.